Morning to Amud Yomi Shiur. We are learning in Amud today, an Amud Gemara day, and we are now in Maseches Kiddushin. Kiddushin Daf Memches Amud Aleph towards the bottom of the page. Officially, the page today is Memches Amud Beis, but we are still in Memches Amud Aleph, catching up from yesterday. The Ibois Ema. I'll soon give the introduction, but if you want to know where we are in the Ibois Ema, which is a few lines before the end of the narrow lines. V'ibois ema, the kula alma, which means yesterday we saw a machloikes. What was the machloikes? Machloikes Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Elazar, and Chachomim regarding ishtar. And how did you explain kiddush ishtar? What was the story? What was the machloikes? Well, Rabbi Meir said that a person mekadesh b'shtar eina mekudeshes, meaning, as we explained, shtar kiddushin, one of the three ways of being mekadesh a woman is with a shtar of kiddushin, harei at mekudeshes li. He writes it and he gives it to her, mekudeshes. But according to Rabbi Meir says if there are certain issues with the shtar, for example, the shtar didn't have the edim written, there's an issue, let's say, with the edim, there's no chasima, the edim are not signed inside. Says Rabbi Meir, it's not a good shtar. And Rabbi Elazar said, mekudeshes, even if there are no edim signed in the shtar, but the edim saw the shtar being passed on to her, that's good enough. Rabbi Elazar says, edei mesira karsi. Okay. I just want to check something. Rabbi Elazar said mesira. Now, Rabbanon. What's Pshat in Rabbanon? That's good. We have to review that. Rabbanon said, even if the shtar may not be good, but if the shtar is shove pruta, the shtar itself, the paper itself, is worth something, then we say the woman, in her mind, she has kind of plan B, which means if the shtar doesn't work, then she's willing to be miskadesh with the value of the shtar as money. Who says you have to give a ring? That's accepted to give a ring. You can give a ring, you can give a watch, you can give a date, as we just saw. No, seriously, you can give a piece of fruit, you can give dog food, as we saw in Perak Aleph. You can give too much. No, for a dog, not for herself. Wrapped up in a nice pink ribbon. You're saying it's not. Don't try it at home. Don't try it at home. But you can if she's okay with that. So now, what happens regarding the shtar? If the shtar doesn't work as the content of the shtar problematic, then she'll be accepting it as money. That's one way to explain Machlokes Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Elazar, and Chachomim. And we had other ways of explaining it, such as lishmo. Right? What was the question? Does the shtar have to be written for her? Meaning, when he writes the shtar, does he have to write the shtar kiddushin with her in mind? He knows 5 sprints abelas. 5 sprints abelas he knows, and he's writing it for a sprint abela. Well, who says it's this one? Maybe it's the other one. So that's a machloikes. He wrote it, for in general. He has one in store just in case, not necessarily for her. She is a lucky one. So then that's a shaila. Rabbi Meir says that she is not mekudeshes. No, it has to be lishma. Right from the beginning, he has to tell the sofer, write it for her. He has to tell the edim, you sign with her in mind, knowing that it's for Prince Abela Dendorovsky from Seagate. Not the other one. So that's what what has to be done according to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Elazar says no. Rabbi Elazar says you can have 5 stars kiddushin, right? Write it for her, and not for her. You wrote it in general. You can download it offline, and then you just give it to her and finish. That's what Rabbi Elazar says. And Chachomim, same. Chachomim were not sure which way to go, so they said, listen, we don't know what happens, but if it's shove pruta, then you're playing it safe because you have plan B that if the shtar is not good as a shtar, it's still valuable as money. Okay? Now we're going to see the last Iboy Sema. Okay? Fine. The Iboy Sema. The Kula Alma Islu de Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish was the one who said that a woman's shtar kiddushin has to be lishmo. Why did Rish Lakish say it? The Yotza, the Hoysa. Remember? Rish Lakish is the big believer in that more than others. In and out is the same way, same thing. I know a woman, she got divorced, and then people sent her flowers. Mazel tov for the divorce. She got 2 sets of flowers. Somebody that I knew. So then what? Just like the Yetzia clearly has to be Lishma the get, So too, the way in the Shtar Kiddushin has to be also Lishmo. Now, everyone believes in Rish Lakish that it has to be Lishmo. So what's the machloikes? What's the deal? What's the question here? Shekosva Lishmo v'shelo midaita. Something a bit different. Says Rashi, lo yodok shenichtav. In other words, he wrote it with her in mind, as he has to, right? According to Rish Lakish and according to everybody now. But she was not aware of the fact that he's writing it at the time of the ksiva, when he wrote it, or he told the sofer to write it. She didn't know. She only later on found out that he is so serious about her and he wants to marry her. At the beginning, she didn't know. Yeah, look, all these stories. She didn't know that he's interested in her. And then there was a shtar. So what's a machloikis? And again, we see some people say that it's good. That's Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Meir says it's not good. What's the point of machloikis? Why should or shouldn't she know about the shtar being written for her? Don't be confused with the four Amoraim. There are two camps of Amoraim, two on one side and the other two on the other side. The Itma. Everything will be clear now. Be'ezras Hashem. Well, that's our story. Yeah, he wrote the Shtar Kiddushin with her in mind, but she was not aware. Rava v'Ravina, group number one, Rava v'Ravina, Amri Mekudeshes. It's good enough. It's good enough. Why? Because the Gemara says in Perek Rishon, even if you want to compare Kiddushin to Gerushin, right? V'yotza v'oisa, by Gerushin, a woman doesn't have to know. Now, not having to know, that's a shaila actually. If she has to be at best, she has to be informed that she's being divorced, but nobody consults with her, right? With the Oraisa, even with the Rabbanon, one can be megarish his wife against her will. You put the get, you throw the get in her hands, whether she likes it or not, divorce. Yeah, that you can do. You are giving her back to herself, with or without her interest or with or consent. And therefore, they say, well, the only reason why we say that Kiddushin has to be Lishma v'chul is because of Gittin. Wow, excuse me. Gittin, she does not have to know. I mean, maybe you have to tell her she's Megretzu, technically, but make her a din. She doesn't have to be consulted or be aware or anything or being asked. And therefore, Kiddushin is the same. Of course, she has to have your agreement to marry her. That, yeah. You cannot marry a woman without her will, but the writing of the Kiddushin, before she received it, she doesn't have to know. Like you get, she's not in the picture. That's Rav and Ravina. On the other hand, Rav Papa and Rav Shravia, Rav Papa and Rav Shravia say, Ami eina mikudeshes. No, she's not mikudeshes unless she's aware of it. Why? Rav Papa and Rav Shravia also compare Kiddushin to Gittin, but in a completely different way. They say as follows. You're comparing the woman in Kiddushin to the woman in Gittin? No, the woman in Kiddushin is compared to the man in Gittin. Why? Because what does the man do in Gittin? He's the active one. The man in the Gittin show, in the Gittin story, when you cast the different people, who is the one makne? Who is the one giving something? The man. The man in Gerushin, remember the very, very first Mishnah? Koines atzma. When a man divorces his wife, he gives her a get, he is now giving herself back to herself. He's makne, he's giving, not selling, he's giving the opposite of acquisition, giving the other, her issues to herself. Now she's free to marry wherever she wants. A Kiddushin, who's the one who's giving something to? The woman. Because the woman is the one, of course, makne herself. He's acquiring her, she's giving herself. She's makne herself, right? And therefore, she should be compared to the man. Just like the man in Kiddushin, Gerushin, of course, has to be aware of the get. He is the one doing the whole thing. He's the man. He's the one commanding the sofer and the chule, the edim. So to by Kiddushin, she has to be aware. And the Ritva says, believe it or not, the Ritva says, I actually found Me'ashgocha. I saw the Ritva in Perek Rishon. He says she even has to tell the edim. She has to tell the sofer and the edim to write the Shtar Kiddushin. Even though he's giving to her, she has to be the one telling them, according to Ritva. Not all Rishonim agree to that. But Kitzer, so that's a machloikas. One thing is for sure. Remember what we said yesterday? How did this whole sugya begin? Started with Rav. What did Rav say? Mekadesh b'milvein mekudeshes. Remember that was how the whole story started. And what we did now, we disengaged Rav's opinion from the one of the Tanoim. Rav speaks about milve. According to Rav, if you lent her money and you gave up the choiv, you rescinded the choiv. Can you marry her that way? No. One big red no, according to Rav, and it goes through and through. What's the argument about shtar? We explained it's not shtar choiv. It's shtar kiddushin. It's a different story. By the way, let me pay my debt now. I also have a debt to you. Remember, I told you yesterday, before we start the new, not the semi-new sugya, also about Tolva. Remember yesterday, I owe you, I owe an answer. I don't know the answer to your question. But regarding to what I told you yesterday, remember there was a concept of mechilas choiv. Yeah, Rav Papa says, if Ellen owes me 10 million pounds, and I now, I have a star saying Ellen owes me 10 million, he doesn't like it. It's fine. I'm giving up. It's fine. It's okay. We'll stay good friends. 10 million pounds you owe me, and it says you're a star, right? I'm selling this to Parrots. Parrots, now it's your, now you go collect it from Ellen, 10 million. You British guy, manage it between yourselves. And then I go to Ellen and say, Ellen is such a nice guy. You come to share every day, such good questions. I'm giving up the choiv. It's okay. Michael, it's fine. I can do it. Now Parrots will be seething with anger with me. How was I Michael? That's another shaila. The question, so I may have to pay because of Garmi. But how can I forgive Ellen if I sold the rights to Parrots, right? I'm not the owner anymore. Explains the Ritva, Tosa says the rights of the Rabbanon, and the Ritva says something else. The Ritva says, listen to a big yisoid. Whenever a person owes me money or owes anybody money, there are two levels. There's shibud of the guf and the shibud of the nechosim, which means a person himself, once he's a loive, once he's in debt, right? He's the one who owes the money, is the Baal Choiv, the borrower. He, as a person, has a chiyuv to pay. Yeah, he has a mitzvah, the chiyuv to pay. Who are the guarantors? They're not always human guarantors. His fields. The nechosim are the guarantors for him. Right? Nechosav shel odam arevin loy. The Gemara says. I think it's above Mitzvah, I'm not sure. Your house mortgaged is your orev. It's your guarantor. It's a guarantee that if you don't pay, the house will pay for you. Now, says the Ritz for something interesting. If Ellen owes me money, if somebody owes me money, then what's the halacha? The shiba, the goof, the fact that as a person, the loiva owes the malva, that cannot be sold on. Because he says even Eved Ivri, who's mishuba to a person, cannot be sold to other people. Are you allowed to sell on an Eved Ivri? No. One Jew, the shibud of a one Jew to the other can only be kept by one person and not for others. Kiddushin, a woman is mishuba to the husband. He can't sell her chas v'sholem. In other words, that shibud of haguf cannot be sold on. All it can sell you is the nechosim. But now the nechosim are in orev. And since now, if Ellen still owes me money and not to you the money, so all I sold you was the arevus, but the arevus doesn't work either. Why? Because an orev only has to pay as much as the person himself has to pay. So if I went and I said, listen, Akilu lent you the shibud, but I'm not fully out of the shibud. He's not fully out of the shibud towards me. Because shibud the goof stays always. And shibud the chosim, that's the second stage. And if you don't owe me, your orev doesn't owe me either. Right? If I gave up the choiv, if I was moichel choiv to a guy, his orev is not chayv either. We have to see the Ritz more inside, but that's the crux of it. Nema kani tanoi, next sugya. Nema kani tanoi. Let's try and again attack Rav by saying what? Maybe Rav's statement is up to Machloikes Tanoim as follows. Now, what did Rav say again? We said it many times. Mekadesh b'milva ein mekudeshes. Why? Milva lo nitno. The milva belongs to the borrower. You can't mekadesh woman with the money. It belongs to her. Let us now again attempt to say the Machloikes Rav, that Rav's statement is Machloikes of the following Tanoim. The Tanya. This is a very, very interesting case. Actually, this is that we're quoting, the next line is verbatim, quoting what a woman may tell a man. By the way, it's not a case that really happened. Yeah, it's a theoretical case. Maybe it happened once in history, but in the Gemara, it's brought down as a theory. Asali shiraim nezomim v'tabois. Says the woman to the man, you're such an amazing goldsmith. You know how to make jewelry. You're a jeweler designer. Asali shiraim, make me, shirim is not shiraim from the Rebbe. Shirim is the bracelets. Nezomim, earrings or nose rings, v'tabois and rings. Bekadesh ani lecha, then I'll be miskadesh to you. In other words, now it's very important to know the story here right from the start. This is today's sugya. She gave him raw gold. She gave him, let's say, bars of gold or just raw gold. And what's she expecting? You make me beautiful jewelry, and then for that jewelry, I'll become your wife. How does that work exactly? Is a good question. That's going to be now the issue. She gave him the gold. He's doing all the work. Good few days. He worked, made this beautiful jewelry, right? He made them, nice goldsmith, this and that, the other. At the end, it was pre-planned that she'll be miskadesh to him with this gold and silver, with the items, with the jewelry. What? You're already taking sides here. We're stepping on a minefield over here. There are many ways to understand her interesting statement. Kevan zokta nekama, which is Rabbi Meir, says Rabbi Meir, Kevan shason mekudeshes div Rabbi Meir. Says Rabbi Meir, once he finished making those rings, this jewelry, she's mekudeshes, says Rabbi Meir. Don't ask questions because more or less like 5 questions. The Chachamim say no. Ein mekudeshes ad shegia moment liyodo. Chachamim say she's not mekudeshes when he finished it. She's only mekudeshes when the money arrives in her hand. If you don't understand the brisa, you're in very good company. The pashtus, I want you to say the pashtus. I'll just translate to English. I'm not explaining on purpose. Rabbi Meir says once finished, he did it, he made it. The pashtus, what does it mean? Where does he live? In Eilat. She lives in Kiryat Shmona. Not very safe places. You know Eilat is far from Kiryat Shmona? Very good. I know. So they live very far away. He finished crafting this jewelry in Eilat, right? She's in Kiryat Shmona, and she's mukudeshes, remote control, Wi-Fi, somehow it works the Kiddushin. And Chachamim say she's not mukudeshes until the money reaches her own hands. Now, Hi Moman Heichidami, what exactly you're talking about when you say she is only mukudeshes once the money reaches her hands? What do you mean? Ilema oisoi momoin. If they mean to say oisoi momon, meaning as we thought, the actual jewelry. In other words, Chachamim say he has to travel all the way from Eilat to Kiryat Shmona and give her the jewelry, then she'll be mekudeshes. Okay, that makes sense. Michlal, that is to say, the Tanakama. So how, according to that, what did Rabbi Meir say? Rabbi Meir Tanakama, don't get confused. Rabbi Meir Tanakama, Sova, afilo oisamom nami loy. Mashma, according to Rabbi Meir, even this money itself, loy means he doesn't have to give her the money, but it stays in his house. Ela b'may boy mekadsha, right? So what do you mean by? So what did she miskadish with? How does that Wi-Fi magic works? In other words, you're telling me that according to Rabbi Meir, the jewelry stays in his house. Boom, 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 crafting, making, designing, polishing. He has spick and spank, beautiful jewelry in his house, and she far away is mekudeshes. How does that work? And according to Chachamim, I understand she has to get it to her hands. Like last time I checked, women have the ring on their finger, And Rabbi Meir says he works without any transfer automatically. Once it's done, he's finished it. The Rishonim here ask that it's actually very easy to answer, and that's a question in the Rashba and Tosis Bava Kama. I'm sparing you the details because I think it'll only confuse you at this point, to be honest. Let's just continue the sugya, and soon the Gemara will give us, what would you say? No, democracy again. Today is the day of democracy. You can open your mouth, yeah? Oh, so why does Rabbi Meir think that it is good? Oh, that's a question. What were you saying? He finished the job, and the jewelry is in his house. She didn't receive it. Why would Rabbi Meir say, what? The gold is hers. He's put labor. Oh. So now, good. Which means that the raw gold was worth, I don't know, 1,000. Excuse my numbers, okay? But that's was worth 1,000. The jewelry, 3,000. So now what? Oh, so you're basically telling me, parrots, she owes him now $2,000, right? So, and he's giving up the choiv, and he says, okay, stay. In other words, don't pay me the 2,000, and he mekudeshes. You think Rav is happy now? I don't think so. He's basically alone. Yeah, she owes him money for the labor, and he says, okay, don't pay me. Oh, all good, all fine. And by the way, that was prearranged. So what it was prearranged? It's prearranged that she'll owe him money, and instead of giving him 2,000 cash, she'll give him herself. Doesn't look good. And look at the word, very, very nice. You guys are up to good things. Elalav must be, the Gemara is now basically saying what you were saying. B'momen acher, which means, what pshat in Chachomim? Chachomim say only when it reaches her hands, doesn't mean the jewelry itself. It means that she has to get other money, meaning that shtick, or I'm only calling it shtick because the Gemara is unhappy with that Rabbi Meir thinks is not good according to Chachomim. Chachomim say the jewelry cannot stay in his house and he is like erasing a debt, and that's how it works. He has to give her proper money. Either he'll give her the jewelry themselves, or he'll give her other money, mamish, other money, other kiddushin. The kids said those kiddushin don't work. So what's the point of machlokes between Rabbi Meir and Chachomim? B'shma mina, b'mikadosh b'milveh kamiflagi. Must be the argue whether kiddushin through a milveh is good. Who says it's good? Rabbi Meir. And Chachamim say that it's not good. Now, before we continue, before we continue, let me explain. There are 2/3 ways to understand, and this is something which I want to tell you now, and we've seen that in other sugis and Bava Kama and other places. Let's explain to a child, why does that? I'm saying, Dafka, let's free our minds and think like we are now 3 years old, 5 years old. Why does that mommy have to pay that daddy money? It's her gold. She gave him gold, right? Why does he have to pay him now? Let's define. Why does the woman have to pay money to the man? Because of his labor. Of course, that's one way to look at it. He worked and worked and worked, right? And therefore, every time he worked and he banged the hammer and he designed and he polished and he curved and he did and he this, for every movement or for every minute, she owes him money. It's like going into a taxi. I'm saying this on purpose. You go into the taxi, what in some cases, amoneh dofek, the taxi meter starts ticking, right? So too, once he received the gold, every movement, every minute, every whatever, the choiv is accumulating. The choiv is accumulating. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Why not? Well, let me. Yeah. Okay. Let me continue the idea. 1 second. Sorry for the crisis. Now, excuse me. So now, one way is saying that the person, the what's his name, the one who ordered the job, owes money slowly but surely. Every minute, the debt accumulates. That's one way of looking at it. There's another way of looking at it and saying no. Only once the job is done, then I owe you the money, right? When the job is done, when you have a proper tabas, silver ring or gold ring, then I start owing you the money, right? When I have the product, not for every movement you do, for the final thing. And there's the third way, which we'll see later. Right now, you give me 2 minutes? Thank you. Besavri. Now, at this moment, the way we interpret it is as follows. The Kula Alma, both Rabbi Meir and Rabbanon believe, listen to this, Yeshna l'schirus mitchila ve'ad soif. Behava milve, which means everyone agrees that yes, it's a loan, my friend. I'm sorry to tell you that. When a person is working, and every time he's working and sweating and designing and going and coughing and working hard to do what? To craft your jewelry, lady, then what? A milveh, my friend, doesn't have to be dafka milveh than money is. There are many ways to owe money to people. In other words, if I'm working, I am lending you my work, right? Instead of lending cash, I lent you my work. I lent you my blood, sweat, and tears, and time and work. And I lent you, lady, work. You owe me every second, you owe me another pound, another shekel, another dollar. And what's the argument according to that? Which means loan does not have to be loan as giving a loan cash. Loan can also be lending your time. I lent you time in order to receive money back from you. My love, behokamiflagi must be what's a machloikes. The malstova mekadesh b'milve mekudeshes. Oh, now it's getting clear. Rabbi Meir believes that they can make such an agreement. They can make an agreement. I'm the lady, and I'm giving the raw gold to Mr. Goldsmith. And she tells him, Mr. Goldsmith, I know you're going to work blood, sweat, and tears, and will accumulate the debt. And at the end of the horizon, instead of paying you the debt, what will happen? I'm giving you myself. That's mamish b'kadish b'milveh. I appreciate the difference, but it does make a difference. Some differences don't make a difference. Umar sovar hamikadesh b'milveh ena mekudeshes. And Chachamim say, Chachamim say no. If she owes the money, when did she give him the jewelry? On Sunday. Where's the jewelry ready? When is it ready? On Thursday. It took him 5 days. A lot of work. Yeah. Then for 5 days, you accumulated debt. And you say, no, I know I'll owe you money. And instead of paying you back, I'll give you myself. And you erase the debt. Give them for free, meaning delete the debt. That's Mekadesh Memilveh. Yeah, Eina Mekudeshes. So Rav is not so happy now. Because according to Rav, both the Noim should agree that such a system, such a plan, does not work according to Rav. Because it's her, yeah, because Lamaisa, it's a milveh. It's her money. Yeah, good, you're not having. Yeah, you fine?
Once he's finished the job,
yeah,
the whatever the amount of money may be, it's still not a loan money.
You're right. Again, let me explain more. At the moment, the Gemara assumes that both Rabbi Meir and Chachamim, the way they view, the way they define paying for a worker, paying for a craftsman, for an artist, is assumed that you're paying for every bit and every second of work for every work he does, every time he moves his muscles. You may be right that you'd only want to pay him at the end of the journey, not at the beginning. Even if she pays him at the end, retroactively, she's paying for every second. So she does owe him, at least potentially, every time he's moving the jewelry and he's crafting and designing and cutting and going online to find a new design. Every time he does that, she has to pay him for that. So she did accumulate debt, right? Even if it's only meant to be paid at the end. And instead, instead of paying me, be miskadish to me. That's bad. That's bad. It's even worse than regular milva ellen. You know why? Because who owns her money? She. Nobody lent her the money. In a way, it's even worse than milva. I'm just thinking now, right? She has money that he never saw in his life. She owes him money that was always hers. With that, you Makadish her? Of course it's her money. You can't be Makadish her with that, according to Rav. If anything, it's worse than Milva. That's a very important point. And says the Gemara, Loi. Yeah, so what did you want to say? What's the only Machloikis? Whether Makadish Milva works or doesn't work? Says the Gemara, Loi, second to last line. The Kula Alma Makadish Milva ain't a Makudeshes. You could say like Rav, both the Noim believe that Mekadesh b'milvah she's not Mekudeshes. Behocho, now you're going to be happy. You know what the Machloikis is? B'yeshna l'schius mitchila ve'ad soif kamiflegi. That exactly is the question. How do you define the debt, the work agreement between the person, the one ordering the job, the balabais, and the uman? How do you define? Do you define it as Malsova? Let me just read it in the Gemara. Malsova enalischirus ela basoif. Oh, Malsova yesh leschirus mitchila batsoif. Now you're going to be happy, which means one opinion. You'll tell me who holds what. Yeah, one opinion says you know how the work agreements are when it comes to my gold or the woman's gold and the man's hard work. The schirus only begins. The choiv, the debt, is only created at the very end. When she will see a finished product, only then she'll begin owing you money. I don't owe you for your blood, sweat, and tears, but obviously that's part of the equation. I owe you for giving me for crafting jewelry. Your work is translated into the full final product of jewelry. Only then I'll begin to owe you money. That's how we define it. Yeah, and therefore that does work and it's good. Why? Again, according to both opinions. You cannot be miskadish with debt. No, you can't. Elamai. Now listen to this. It's a bit tricky. Here comes. It's not hard. It's just sticky. When did they plan on that whole arrangement? Good. Before she started. She came to him on Sunday. She came to him on Shabbos, even before everything. And she said, you know, mister, we've been dating 5 times already. That's a lot of times for Israeli Haredim. We've been dating 5 times. And, you know, we are very already almost into it. You know, let's be a bit unique. I'm going to give you gold now on Sunday, right? Now, what's Shabbos Sunday? Do it for me. And I'm pre-planning that, what? At the end of the journey, at the end of the story, I'll be miskadish to you the rings. Oh, she cannot be miskadish with the debt. But listen to what they're doing. Because it was pre-planned, yeah, she's telling him like that. When will I owe you money? When will I begin to owe you money? When on Thursday, 2 o'clock, when I'll receive the rings to my hands. Let's say the arrangement was Thursday, 2 o'clock, you come to my house with the rings, then I'll owe you money. Ah, she said, I'll be miskadish too at that very moment. It's not that there will be a debt and then, oh, I owe you money and you erase the debt. Right before, L'shem Kiddushin Moichlo Etz, look at Rashi. The En Kan Milvik Shemachziran La. When he knocks on her door and he's giving her the jewelry, already at that moment, right? There's no debt yet. He's giving it to her, not that he's giving it to her, 2 o'clock, now there's a debt, and then they say, you know what? Okay, you owe me money for the rings I just gave you? Let's forget it. That's not good, because you can't have the debt and then forgive it as Kiddushin. Here they changed the order. Because it was pre-planned, she's telling him, instead of me owing you the money, I'll be miskadish. In other words, it's a race. I'll be miskadish to you before owing the money. You'll give me the jewelry already as Kiddushin before the debt is created. That's why it's good. And that's why Rabbi Meir says it's good. Mashenkin Chachamim say no. Chachamim say you can't do that. You know why? Because when people have regular agreements of craftsmanship, the agreement is that it's like the taxi with the taximeter ticking. Too late. Even if you pre-plan it, you can't pre-plan it. Why? Because what are you pre-planning? You're telling me, it's Motzei Shabbos. On Thursday, you'll give it to me, right? And they'll be miskadish too. No, but Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, tick, 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 tick. The debt is accumulating nice and slow. On Thursday, too late. The debt was created before he knocked on her door. And then erasing the debt won't work. Very good. That's a machloikis. Everyone agrees like Rav. Rav is now on the high horse. Everyone agrees milveh is not a good to be miskadish. The question is, how do you define? Is that a milveh debt that was slowly created and accumulated? Too late. Thursday, way too late. The chayv started on Sunday, lady. Masha'enkin, if you say according to Rabbi Meir, no, the debt only begins, as you're saying more, you should be happy now, when there's a finished product, only now talk, many people, right? When will I start paying you? When you have my house painted. No, I'm not paying. Blood, sweat, and tears, that's your own cheshbon within yourself. I don't care how much you work. I want the product. That's all I want, right? And Mimela, once she gets a product, then she owes him, but she doesn't owe him because he gave her the product already for her to Kudeshly. That's pshat, very nice. That's a machloikis. They boy seima. Now there's a third way. Now let me shock you before we continue. I'm very, very happy to see you. And Memches Amud Beis, the second line in the page. The boy seima. Let me tell you now another idea to give an introduction to the Gemara. There's another way to say that the woman does not have to pay him for his work at all. Did you hear that? I'm not explaining to my little child, you know why that mommy has to pay that daddy who did the work for her, although it's her gold? She's not paying him for his work. What's pshat? There's a third way. Well, let me ask you a question. If you go to the jewelry store to buy your wife jewelry for her 20th birthday, whatever, for whatever, for whichever age, then why do you pay the person for the did that person make the tabaz? You go, you're down here to Regal Jewelry, I don't know, whichever jewelry store. Did they make the ring? I don't think so. Made in China, made in I don't know where. You pay them for a product. They sold your product. You're not a thief, Baruch Hashem. You do agbo and you give the money. Oh, you're paying for a product. Nothing to do with the work. Shh. Here comes the third idea. When you give the gold, the raw material to the craftsman, you don't pay him for his work. You pay him for the finished product as if you bought it in the store. Of course, he prices it according to his hard job. If it took him day and night and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to work over it, they'll charge more, otherwise less. But the Masi, you're not paying him for the work. You don't care how much you work. It's kablanus. You pay him for the actual ring. It's different to both ways we explained before. And therefore, that's a third way. The boy sema, the kula alma yesh l'schius mitchila v'atzoif. Both Rabbi Meir and Chachamim believe that really, if you have an arrangement with a person to pay per work, then the debt begins to accumulate from the beginning. Umekadish b'milva and mekudeshes. This is Rav. Mekadish b'milva is not good kiddushin, and therefore, so how come she's mekudesh over here? So what's a machloikes? Let me tell you something which we learned to Bavakama. Which means, let me ask you again the question. It's raw gold that belongs to her. She's the owner of the gold. She's the owner of the material, not you, not this jewelry store. So why all of a sudden they charge money? Because he changed it. Did we learn we have faint members Povakama? If I steal something, which I don't, but let's say somebody would steal gold, let's say he stole the gold. Let's say you steal raw pieces of wood and you crafted them, a very talented Ganav, yeah? Artistic Ganav. What did he do? He made a beautiful chair, mahogany chair from raw pieces. Who's the owner of the chair? Of course, he has to pay the money to the original owner, but the owner is the Gazlan. He has to pay cash of the raw wood because you stole it. But koinakol, I remember Magichir and Yeshiva told us, that's a joke. What did we say in davening? We say 3 times a day, the koine akoil. What do you mean? Hashem bought the world? Hashem didn't buy the world in Osharat. What do you mean koine akol? Hashem created the world. Therefore, he's koine. He acquired it. And the halacha is, if you take pieces of wood from Hefker, no gnei v'chas v'sholem, you went to a lonely field somewhere out of town, you collected pieces of wood from Hefker without having kavanah to buy them. You did a gba and you thought, no, I don't want to buy them myself, but then you crafted them into a chair, they're yours. Why? Which kinyan? When was the kinyan? The creation. Creating is kinyan. Yes, yes, yes. Look at my list of over 20 kinyanim that I made. Maybe I'll send it to you. One kinyan is, it's mentioned, yeah, in the halacha, kinyan of creating. Creating is a kinyan. Oh, so you know why she has to pay for the jewelry? It's as if she bought it in his store. That's all. Forget about the work. That's all. She has to Pashut. He has jewelry that are sold by him to her. It's as if they're in the pain in the jewelry store, and that's why she has to pay him, according to one opinion. That's a machloikes. Masovar uman koine b'shvach kli. That's who. That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, listen, the uman, in this case, the man, the goldsmith, the shvach kli, the fact he was what's mashbiach, improved, enhanced the kli. Now the kli belongs to who? To him. He's giving it to her. Mazel tov. And therefore, Pashut, Kiddushin, it's not a debt. It's not a debt. He gave her product. Oh, and another, the Chachamim say no. Chachamim say no. We don't think an uman is going to be shvach kli. The way these things work are not like going to the jewelry store, but rather what are they? It's an accumulative debt. Ooh, you said the D word? That's a 4-letter word. D-E-B-T, oy vavoy. With a debt, you can't pay. You can't be miskadish with a debt. I want to say she was miskadish with the ring as a finished product. We don't believe in that. We don't think that that's the way it works by craftsmanship. Last but not least, and then you can ask your questions. Another final alternative way to understand the machlokas. Again, what's the machlokas remind me? A lady told a man, I'm giving you raw gold. Raw gold today I'm giving you, and then you work. I don't care what you do, how you do, but I want a certain design. Yeah, I want a butterfly over here and a zirconium over there. Huh? And at the end, they'll be miskadish to you with those rings. How does that work? And we always have, what's the name of the game? We have to avoid debt. She can't be miskadish with, I owe you money, and then you erase the debt. That doesn't work. How does it work? We offered several ways. Last but not least, and that's a big chiddush, if you want to say this, the Kula Alma, everyone agrees this is a good summary to everything we've done till now. Ein Uman koine b'shvach kli. Both opinions, Rabbi Meir and Rabbanan, believe an Uman is not koine b'shvach kli. Meaning, when you're given raw gold and you work in it, you have to be paid for your work. That's the assumption, unless known otherwise. You're not getting paid for having a product that you're selling as if you're just a storefront shop. No. Yeah, really, if you want to go now the other way, he's getting paid for his work. He's getting paid for his work right from the beginning. The meter is ticking, tick, 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 tick. The choiv accumulates right from the start, right from the beginning. Guys, we're stuck. We are stuck. How does it work? You can't. And any way of agreement doesn't work here, right? To say she's paying him for the ring is wrong. To say that she's paying him, that he's supposed to be paid by the debt that was created from the beginning. But you can't be miskadish with debt. So what's the machloek? Sakin Rabbi Meir said that it works. Here comes magic. You know, we're making a nukimta here. He added an extra thing by himself. What a nice romantic guy. Let's say she said 2 zirconiums, and he added the zirconium and another one, a third one from me. In other words, he did more than his call, more than the order. And she likes it, I hope, yeah? Okay, he added like a stone or something that she did not order. Okay, so that's good. The mamish gave her a new thing, a new item. That for sure should be good. In other words, really the ring itself, the original order that you ordered on Motzei Shabbos is treif. It's milveh, it's mitchil v'atzoiv, but he's a smart guy. Maybe it's Talmud Chochem. Maybe that's why he did it. He added an extra stone, an extra thing, an extra item thing, whatever. And with that, he wants to be Mekadesh her. What's the problem? So why would Chochamim say that it's not good? We always have to understand both the good side and the bad side. Why do Chochamim say it doesn't work? Answers the Gemara. Mar Sovar, the Mar Sovar, milve upruta, daite apruta. Very good, which means her mind, his and her mind. I think that two Gersos daite. When a woman has, if you remember the story of the dates, when she ate all the dates, and all the dates became a milve, and the last one was not a milve, remember? Same case over here. Okay, in other words, he's really doing two things now. He knocks on the door Thursday. Oh, my dearest, here is the ring that you ordered, plus another shiny little stone. What's in her mind? What does she want to be miskadesh? There's milve and there's pruta. Most of the ring is an old debt that she owes him, but there's a new item, which is a pruta, at least shove pruta, which is the new one. The question, what's her mind? Says Rabbi Meir, it works, it's very good. Daite pruta. They, him and her, have in mind that the Kiddushin should not apply to 90% of the ring, but to the extra shiny bit, shove pruta, which is good. In other words, it's like she's being served chazir and kosher food together. What's her mind? Is her mind on the good or the bad? On the good, on the pruta, that's Rabbi Meir. Marsava daite amilve, bad news. And it says date, which sounds like his mind. The Gemara there says it's data. Mikudu, it's both. Chachamim are concerned that she has in mind, or he has in mind, what's in Mekadesh with? The tabazzu. What do you mean tabazzu? What part of the tabaz? Maybe what he has in mind is be Mekadesh with the debt. With the tabat, you owe me money for the tabaz, not for the extra. If you don't go for the extra, then your kavana, your zoning, you're focusing on the wrong part, of the Kiddushin, and that's why it doesn't work. And that's Machlokes Tanakama and Rabbi Meir. Ubeplukta dani tanoi. The same Machlokes of from now on, it's very easy. It's basically, I would say, summarizing, bringing another Machlokes very similar to what we just saw now. And then I can hear questions if you want. Ubeplukta dani tanoi. Yeah, the same Machlokes we saw now about milve and pruta. We're going to see this now in a different Machlokes Tanoim. The Tanya. Let's restart, clean slate. Says the man to the woman, Harei at mekudeshes li, besachar she'asisi imech. Be miskadesh to me in return for the work I did for you. Right? Remember I painted your house yesterday? You don't? You do. Very good. Honest girl. Remember you owe me 10,000 shekels? With that, I mekadesh you. Is that good? No. She owes him 10,000. He's erasing the debt. Stay with the 10,000 and be my wife. Obviously not, because that's a debt, right? Ain't a mekudeshes. She's not mekudeshes. Ain't working. Oh, I will paint your house tomorrow, starting tomorrow. I'll paint your house, lady. She lives by herself. She's or by her parents, yeah. And I'll do sachar for you. Then she's mekudeshes, says Tanakama. That's similar to the jewelry. I will do work for you, right? And for the work that I will do for you, you'll be miskadesh to me. That's Machlokes Rabbi Meir and Chachamim in many different ways. Rabbi Nosson says, "B'schar she'ese imech ein mekudeshes." Rabbi Nosson is like Chachamim. Rabbi Nosson says, no, even if you create a future debt, right? She's not mekudeshes for the many reasons that we saw, like Chachamim. You can't do that agreement. I'll do the work for you, and at the end you'll be miskadesh to me. The kol sheken b'schar she'asisi imech. All the more so if the debt is already in existence, you already owe me money, for sure it can be miskadesh, right? Future is always better than past. Even, any form or shape of debt, it can't be miskadesh, says Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Yehuda Anossi says, be'emes omu. Rabbi Yehuda says be'emes means nobody argues, yeah? Rabbi Yehuda believes that be'emes means like from Malach al-Mishimesina, like it was always known, yeah? This is like for sure the truth. Ben besachar she'asisi, ben besachar she'seimach ein mekudeshes. So Rabbi Yehuda Anossi clearly supports Rabbi Nosson either past or future, she's not Mekudeshes. Why would the future agreement not work? We gave 4 different reasons, right? Because why? Because yesh l'schus mitchila v'atzoif, right? Okay, v'chule v'chule, yeah. Oh, but if he added an extra piece of work, he's painting your house, and then he painted an extra corner she didn't ask him to do. A new thing not ordered, a new thing from himself. Then she's Mekudeshes, says the third opinion, Bida Anosi. Now, Ben, what's the machlokes between the many opinions? There are 2 machlokes in here, really. Ben Tanakama Rabbi Nosson, Ika Benayu, Schirus. Very good, which means, what's the difference between Tanakama and Rabbi Nosson? The machlokes is as follows. When we say, I will do work for you, and at the end of that work, you'll be my wife. How does it work? One opinion holds that it's good and it's amazing, and that is the first opinion because they believe yesh l'schirus only basoif. The debt is only created, but the last stroke of his whatever paintbrush of the brush. Then but then she'll be his wife. He'll do the last thing already with her in mind. So really, she's mekudeshes before the debt was created. It's good. But She'enken Rabbi Nosson says no. Rabbi Nosson says every not stroke. How do you say streak? Every stroke of okay. Every stroke of brush. Every stroke of brush. It means what? Oh, debt. You created the debt before the Kiddushin. Can't do that. You're erasing a debt. You can't erase debts for Kiddushin. No such thing. And everyone agrees to that. The question is, was the debt created at the beginning and it's a problem? Or will the debt only be created at the end and they will preempt it? They'll catch it on time. That's a machlokes between Tanakama and Rabbi Nosson, right? So very good. Like Chacham and Rabbi Meir. Now, what's the second machlokes? And Ben Rabbi Nosson, Rabbi Yehuda Anosi, machlokes Rabbi Nosson, Rabbi Yehuda Anosi is Ika Benayu milve upruto. When she owes money to the person right from the beginning, that's bad news. But he added a thing by himself, a pruta. There's an extra pruta which wasn't spoken about. Absolutely a new thing. His initiative, nothing to do with that. But the question is, what's in their minds? Masava milve pruta daita milve. There, Rabbi Nosson says, no, doesn't work. In other words, although he added a very nice, cute little stroke of a pink color at the end of the room, and she really loves it, that's not her mind. It's not what they have in mind. They have in mind to be miskadesh with the milve, so it doesn't work. With the money she really owes him. The other opinion, Bidanosi says, no. When you do the minimum job and you do the extra little bit that he did by himself, the mind is on the pruta. The mind, mistome, they want to be miskadesh with the pruta. The machlokes is maybe, do people do what's right or what's wrong? Do they go, whatever. There are many ways to explain this machlokes, and that's machlokes over here. I can summarize if you want, or we can continue, or you can ask questions, or we can do whatever you want. Yeah, I'm at your service. Who is the winner? I did not see halacha here. Unfortunately, it looks like Rabbi Meir, but you gave me homework. Blin Eder, I will do my homework. Blin Eder, as I did yesterday. I checked the Ritva, and hopefully I'll have time today to do the homework. Doesn't take a long time to vote. Yeah, so before voting, I'll do my homework. Yeah, and then I'll do the Kaddish Shem Shemayim. Let's summarize. Okay. Oh. Again, let's summarize it in summary. First of all, I want to stress a point. Thank you, Ellen, for making me stress it. When we said yesh l'schirus ela basoif, says Rashi, when he gives her the jewelry, the moment of that is when she gets the finished job, right? What do you write in the contract with the guy who paints your house, who does your jewelry? When I'll get the final job, spick and spank and all good, then I'll begin to pay you. I don't owe you before. That's one way of understanding it. It's a machlokes, but that's one way. Oh, so you're asking good, Ellen. Enochinami. Let's say they did not prearrange it. Let's say they thought that he'll give her the jewelry and they're not going to be married. They didn't think of marriage. But then she came to his house with cash, right? Came to his house with cash to pay. But then he told her, no, leave the cash by you. And before I'm giving you the jewelry back, we're deciding that that giving is for Kiddushin. Then it's good. Why? Because the debt wasn't yet created. As long as it preempt the debt, it's good enough. Right. And he didn't sound like that from what I said before. I have to understand because I didn't understand like that before. I have to work this out within myself. I remember when we were learning it in yeshiva, it was different. But Rashi says Mefurish, you're right. Rashi says Mefurish, Kshemachziran lo. only when he gives it to her. Now, your point. There are three ways to look at why a person giving raw material to a craftsman, why he has to pay him. 1, 2, and 3. 1. Option number 1. Have box number 1 open in on your mind. You gave him raw gold to work. Imagine yourself, to your horror, you entered an Israeli taxi. Every second, the meter is ticking, ticking, ticking. And therefore, right from the beginning, of course, you'll only pay him at the end. You can make conditions. Oh, only when the jewelry is beautiful, I'll pay. Fine, that's a condition. But really, what you owe him, the debt started right from the beginning, right from when he started working. That's schirus, not kablonus. And therefore, if that's the case here, for sure it doesn't work. She can't be miskadeshes because the debt was created, and you can't even preempt it because there's no such thing. The debt is created, and you're pre-planning. I'll erase your debt, but there will be a debt, so it doesn't work. 2, window number 2, similar. That's where you're getting confused. It's not kabbalah spirits. She's not paying him for the item. She's paying him for his work. However, she only begins to owe him for his work only when there's a finished product. That's a very nuanced thing. She's not paying him for the jewelry as if she bought it in a jewelry store. No, she is paying him for his hard work, for the craftsmanship, for the work. But when is the debt created? Only when she receives it. But it's still schirus. Yeah, it's schirus, but it only begins at the end of the process, the beginning of the end. When he finishes the process, finished product, right? Then she owes him the money when he hands it to her, but she owes him for the work. But the debt is only at the end. That, if you hold by that, then it's good. Then Kiddushin may work. And that may be your mayor's opinion. Because why? They managed to trick the system. Before you owe me the money, I'll be miskadish to you. Or at the same time, at the time when I'm receiving the tabas, I'm miskadish to you instead of owing you. Right? And at the end of the process, instead of that, it will be Kiddushin. Now, option number 3, she's b'chla not paying him for his work. She doesn't care whether he worked for half a second, for a year, for I don't know. It's kablonus. Remember, we have that many, many times in halacha. He's not being paid per hour. He's not being paid per movement, per sweating, per doing. That's obviously his cheshbon. He's being paid as if he's selling her a product, complete product, which has nothing to do with his work. Obviously, he puts his work as he prices it. That's his internal politics. That is kablanus, meaning uman koine b'shvach kli. When I give gold to the uman, I don't have to pay him for his work. What do I have to pay him for? He sold me a jewelry. That's all. He took my gold, crafted it by himself to beautiful jewelry, or not so beautiful jewelry. I don't know, rings and nose rings and I don't know what, studs. And now what? He's selling me a product. That's all. It's true, Yosef. I'm getting a reduction because it's my gold originally. But Lamaisa, now it became his, right? It's his, and he's paying me. That's already a second way to understand who? Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir believes that there's no debt whatsoever. No debt here, not nishta here, nishta here. B'chlal not. It's Poshet sold her jewelry, and he's giving a jewelry that's new. It's as if Ashalo Yodas Yosef. This jewelry has nothing to do with the fact that it's her gold originally. It's his jewelry, as if she took it in the store, and he told her at Mukadeshesli with a piece of jewelry. That's a second way of Rabbi Meir. Yeah, that's a difference. It's not paying for work, but only at the end. It's paying for the product. Here Rashi says Mufulish. If you don't believe me, Rashi says very strong words. He says, "Yeah, at the end, when the jeweler gives you the piece, it's as if he's selling it to you, selling you a new product. It's my gold, my thing, my jewelry, and I'm selling it to you, like the Ganev would sell it to you. Finished. Now, what's the fourth option? That is Neufach. If nothing else works, let's say Rabbi Meir believes that the debt accumulates from the beginning, not at the end. That's bad news. There's already debt. And he believes we don't say that it belongs to the Uman. It's only debt. How would it work? Neufach. Is another way to say that really the Uman added an extra bit, an extra diamond, an extra gem, but from himself, voluntarily so. And that new item is something that he's giving her, not the debt. The debt is something you can't do Mekadosh. But on top of the debt is a little shiny new Neufach, a gift. And with that, it's not really a gift. It's like a gift from him. In return of the gift, he wants herself. That's an expensive gift. He wants her hand. He wants her marriage in return of that extra gift. That's it. Good. Baruch Hashem. Oh, Idishama. Hopefully soon, we hope. Weiter. Yes? Okay, it's okay to ask questions. We're past the time. Thank you very much, everyone on YouTube. Thank you to everybody in Torah Anytime. Atzlafo bracha. May we win the war against the Hamas and may be in shalom. Bracha v'atzlafa. Thank you. I'm listening. Yeah.